The figure's hands dig into soil thick with congealed blood. Liquid silent breath prison agony rasps, a gnawing at the broken hymn river of scarlet that coils around them like a shackle, as fractured moonlight bleeds through tears clinging to their lashes. Below, the Erdtree's roots writhe in silent agony, gnawing at the river of scarlet that coils around them like a shackle. Charred honey and rot rise Okina's curse, both wound and ward. The valley trembles. Something ancient stirs beneath the roots, its hunger muffled by the liquid prison. How long has this sacrifice bled to keep it caged? The Erdtrees will writhe, unbound since Melinia's blade cleaved the Elden ringa fracture Okina's tears, now stitched with stolen life. Iron scent clings to the river's surface, a hymn of choked breath and shattered bone. Each drop is a chain, each sob a spell to smother the tree's feral hunger, but the prison bleeds. The will it cages is no god, but a feral thing, gnawing at its shackles. How many more centuries of weeping before the rivers turn not to blood, but to fire? The rivers did not begin as rivers, they began as a wound gash where two titans collided. Kos and Edon did not bargain in words. They bled Iharnam's pale blood, thick with the moon's sorrow, mixed with the Erdtree's black sap, reeking of stolen souls. The alchemy reeked of betrayal. Godwin's murder shattered his lineage, it shattered the sky. Marika's Elden ring, fractured, let the tree's roots burrow into the bloodborne void. What grew there was no garden, it was a festering knot of will, a thing that hungered. Okina's tears were the needle, the thread, the suture, each drop a prayer, each current a chain. The rivers carved their paths not through land, but through timeth age when Iharnam's spires clawed at a bleeding moon, when the tree's tendrils first dreamed. Ebrietta knew the price. To bind a god's consciousness is to become its vessel, its tomb, the great ones paid in flesh. Their names now echo only in the rusted undertow of Okina's flow. Can a curse be a mercy? The rivers run red, but they run cold. Beneath their surface, the Erdtrees will writhe us a shadow without shape, plotting the next crack in its cage. The moon watches, pale and silent, its light does not heal, it only hides the rot, and still Okina weeps, not for itself. For what it holds, for what it cannot hold forever. The fire comes, if comes. If comes, Okina's endless tears were never about grief, but about holding something far more dangerous at bay. The rivers do not flow, they coil. Each drop a sigil, each current a chain, binding the Erdtree's fractured will to the earth. This is no passive act. The crimson waters pulse with a hunger of their own, a ritual sacrifice that must never cease. The first demon's tears are not lament, they are labor, a prison forged in blood magic, where will is carved into flesh and stone. The Erdtree's roots writhe beneath the surface, corrupted veins thrashing against their confines. They seek escape, they find only resistance. The pale blood moon watches, its cold gaze a seal, a silent enforcer of Okina's design, yet even seals have cracks. Surges of violent energy split the land, scars where the Erdtree's rot claws at the edges of containment. The rivers darken, the air thickens. A price is paid always to keep the balance intact. To wield this power is to become its keeper. To feel the Erdtrees will press against your bones, a whisper of unraveling. Okina does not weep for loss, it weeps to hold the line. Between what was and what will burn, the fire comes, it always comes, and the rivers rise not in sorrow but in warning. The first demon's tears did not flow for loss. They pooled in the earth, viscous and iron-rich, carving channels that choked the Erdtree's rot. Okina, fractured by the weight of containment, became a dam for a will that thrived on corruption. Their sorrow was a performance. Their suffering a log. And when the great ones of Bloodborne rose Kos, the hallowed king, whose crown was a nest of thorns, Ebrietta's the cancerous queen, her court a festering bloom of malformed flesh, Edon the hollow one, his voice a dirge that hollowed the bones of Listenersthi, did not seek power. They became conduits, the rivers of blood that birthed their kingdoms were not life but chains, each drop a shackle, each current a whisper, asterisk break. Break, asterisk the Erdtree's roots, gnarled and pulsing, do not guard a sacred flame, they guard a wound. A scar where Okina's curse seeped into the marrow of the world. The great one's children twisted, yearning, half-formed were never heirs, they were pressure valves. The more they multiplied, the tighter the containment. Their rituals, so grotesque, were not worship, they were maintenance. A balance between the hunger above and the hunger below, Then came the tarnished, outsiders, fragments of a grace that never was. Their return to the lands between is not redemption, it is an audit. The Erdtree's will, fractured and incomplete, reaches through their hollowed minds. Do they tighten Okina's curse, or do they drown the world in what it imprisons? Even the outer gods, those titanic squabbles of void and starlight, circle the blood rivers like vultures. Their touch could calcify the curse into stone, or unravel it into fire. The fire comes, it always comes, and the rivers rise, not in sorrow, but in warning. The rivers are not tears, but chainsaw, unyielding, forged when Okina drowned the Erdtree's rot in his own flesh. The divine always fractures, Gwyn's fire, Marika's light ashes, all of it. What screams in the blood is not grief. It is the Erdtree's will, writhing. And Okina's silence, the only thing holding it back. The rivers pulse like a second heart, their crimson currents not merely liquid, but a lattice of will. Okina's silence, binding the Erdtree's fractured consciousness. Here the blood does not flow, it convulses, a trapped thing gnawing at its own leash. The scent of iron is not of death, but of memory, thick with the rot of Marika's shattered vows. Her grace, once a blade that cleaved the stars, now festers in these channels, a poison that cannot die. The Erdtree's will is no benevolent force, it is a hunger that learned to wear a crown. The tarnished tread these banks not as heroes, but as midwives to a cycle. Their scars are not marks of victory, but of complicity. When they kneel, the rivers whisper, reinforce the prison or drown in its collapse. The choice is a lie. To mend Okina's work is to accept the Erdtree's slow unraveling, its roots gnawed by the same corruption that hollowed Marika. To let it break. The world becomes a wound, FromSoftware's truth is etched here, divinity is always a bargain struck with shadows. Gwyn's flame burned out, Marika's light cracked. The tarnished are the last in a long line of fools tasked with tending the fire, even as their hands bleed. The blood's roar grows louder at night. It is not Okina weeping, but the Erdtree dreaming of its old hunger before grace, before names. The rivers are a mirror. In them the tarnished see their own faces reflected, not as saviors, but as the next link in a chain older than ruin. The weight of legacy is not in the gold of the gods, but in the knowledge that every age ends the same, with a throne, a prisoner, and a world held together by a demon's tears. What remains when the final tarnished falls? A silence deeper than Okina's, a void that will not weep. The rivers pulse not with grief, with pressure. Corrupted roots coil above them, a cage forged by Okina's final act, what was buried. A will too vast to die, too fractured to rest. The tarnished tread blind, their blades carving paths through sealed earth. Do they dig toward salvation, or a lid lifted? The Erdtree's prison is no tomb, it is a dam. Every rusted vein, every scarred tributary woven to hold the whole thing back. The first demon wept not for loss, but for the weight in its chest. That writhing, starved intelligence still pushes against the seams. A hunger older than the roots, older than the rot. The rivers run thin now, the dam weakens. And beneath the whispers of wind through hollow branches, listen. Do you hear it? The Erdtree's will, dreaming in the dark. Learning to bleed again, 145. What if Okina's endless tears were never about grief, but about holding something far more dangerous at bay? The blood rivers are not a monument to sorrow, but a scare boundary etched by cosmic hands to cage the Erdtree's fractured will. This is FromSoftware's truth. Relics outlive their makers, and power always carves a wound. Okina's prison hums with the weight of failed divinities. Gwyn's ash, Marika's shattered stars, the moon's hollow promise-seal crumble into the same dust. The hunt repeats, the ages collapse, yet the rivers endure. They are a covenant of containment, a ritual to slow the Erdtree's corruption, not to mourn its birth. Even gods bleed into futility. The river's red currents are not Okina's sorrow, but his vigil, a sentinel against the inevitable. The Erdtree's will, dreaming in the dark, learns to bleed not from loss, but from the pressure of being held. What is legacy if not a chain of prisons? The blood rivers whisper this. Every inheritance is a wound waiting to reopen. Every cycle a rehearsal for the next. Okina's tears are not an end, they are a pause, a breath before the hunt begins anew. What if the Erdtree's will burns in the final act, a fire not extinguished but transferred? Okina's rivers are not tears, they are chains. Liquid barriers forged to cage a will too vast for death. The first flame's embers still smolder, its hunger never truly slaked. What relic will cradle this fury next? The ashen heart of the